Welcome to the INFOWARS Nightly News. I'm your host, Jakari Jackson. It's December 10th, 2014, and here's a look at our top stories.
Tonight, Fox News says America tortures because we
are awesome.
Awesome! Totally awesome!
Meanwhile, the White House grants immunity to the CIA torture agents. Then, military helicopters terrorize residents in Kentucky during a government alert. And a 74-year-old woman wins a gunfight with criminal thugs. All that plus much more up next. The INFOWARS Nightly News.
And welcome back. The CIA torture report has been released, and everybody has an opinion about it, even if they think torture is simply awesome.
And look, I agree with you. The United States of America is awesome. We are awesome. But we've had this discussion. We've closed the book on it and we've stopped doing it. And the reason they want to have this discussion is not to show how awesome we are. This administration wants to have this discussion to show us how we're not awesome.
Partisan politics at its finest, because you understand when it's a Republican channel, their guy can do nothing wrong. If you flipped over to some other channel, they want to talk about Obama. Like, no, Obama doesn't do anything wrong. And that's what we see here. Because we talk about the actions, and yes, I understand that you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. But you also have to understand that all the people being tortured aren't necessarily terrorists. You know, many of them are, but you also have people who are suspected to have information on terrorists and people who just get caught in the mix, the guy who's just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And if you got caught up in that crowd, you just happen to bend down and tie your shoe, and there's a bunch of terrorists standing behind you, all you guys get picked up, and then all you guys get taken to the torture camp and then dealt with at that situation. So, you know, you see them cheerleading, we're awesome, everything is great. I don't want to know what the CIA is doing in my name. Well, actually, I would like to know what these guys are up to, because they're out here doing all these shadowy, secretive things, and then they want to pretend like they're the heroes. And let me make this very clear to everybody who's out there. You can't be the hero while acting like the villain. Batman can't be the hero if he's out killing people like the Joker does. It's the same thing here. If you want to be the hero, if you want to have the moral high ground, you can't be torturing people. You can't be growing the opium and then saying there's something wrong with you if you use it for illegal purposes. But, you know, when we talk about the CIA torture program, the only person to go to prison on this was actually not even involved in the torture so much to say. It was because they blew the whistle on the practice in general. Former CIA officer Jakari is the only CIA employee connected with the interrogation program. Well, I love how they call it interrogation, to go to prison. He was prosecuted for providing information to reporters, not for anything connected to the waterboarding or other actions that today's Senate Intelligence Committee reports calls torture. So even in the article, they're whitewashing it. They called it torture. They're saying it's the interrogation program. This would be like if some homeless guy ran up to you with a knife and threatened to slit your throat if you didn't give him the wallet, then you gave him the wallet. Then later on, the police catch the guy. So, well, I didn't rob them. I was doing enhanced begging techniques. This is how I get my funding to go get my hot GMO at the dollar mart. So, you know, this is what they're doing. It's a whitewash. They want all the smoke and mirrors. They don't want you to really get down to the nitty gritty of what's going on. So these horrific things are being done in our name, in the name of supposed freedom, even though we don't have the freedom. Because they said, you know, they hate us for our freedoms. What freedoms do we have? People are getting roadside checkpoints, proctology exams, no refusal blood draws. They're kicking in people's houses with these no-knock raids at 3 in the morning, burning their kids' faces off. How much freedom do we actually have in this country? They can pull you over, search your phone. The NSA is searching your phone anyway, even though they lie about it. I mean, how much freedom do we really have in this country? And people are concerned about their freedom in the state of Kentucky. Residents out there are saying, we see these low-flying helicopters coming into our neighborhoods. And this brings a very interesting question. What are these people training for? Because you see David Knight and Joe Biggs, they went out to Fort A.P. Hill earlier this year, and they have this training facility, which to me looks like any American city. This doesn't look like some desert locale, Afghanistan, Iraq, nothing like that. Because you see the guys who actually go out there, they go train at military bases in the desert, some type of desert locale. This looked like Main Street America. And coming back here to Kentucky, what exactly is going on out here? The article reads, as we reported earlier, the FCC emergency alert, which warned residents in Corbin and the London areas of southern Kentucky to prepare for action, was sent as a result of human error, according to the Frankfurt Emergency Operations spokesperson, Buddy Rogers. But it goes on to say that the Facebook for the sheriff's department was blown up. Well, not blown up, but, you know, people went to the Facebook page and they were voicing their concerns. We see all these helicopters flying around. What exactly is going on? So maybe it was some type of mistake that this was given to the populace at large, but I very much do think that, yes, they were trained for some type of emergency purpose. And you can see the helicopters and the evidence of that operation right there. And this is going on all around the country, whether it's black helicopters. Put that picture back up, because they always talk about black helicopters like they don't exist. Those are some black helicopters if I've ever seen some. And it's not just there. San Diego, they're having these zombie killing drills. Down in Florida, they have the big drill every year. They got guys jumping out of helicopters, and they save the mayor. They pull up in the speedboat, like, yeah, America, F yeah, and all that stuff. So, yeah, they're definitely training for something domestic. When is it going to hit the fan? When are these guys actually going to be deployed? I don't know. But we've seen guys in the heavy armor with the military vehicles out in Ferguson, Missouri. Many school systems have them now. Ohio State has MRAPs and all that. So it's just getting worse before it definitely gets better. But some of the better news that I heard today, a 74-year-old woman won a gunfight against two armed thugs.
This surveillance video shows 25-year-old Marcus Gould and 20-year-old Leon Robinson coming into the store and looking around for a few minutes. They then split up and pulled guns on both the man and woman working. The woman reached into her waistband and pulled out a gun, shooting Gould. He shot back, but did not hit the woman, instead hitting the books just in front of her.
It looks like he was hit in the exchange of gunfire, and there's also blood in that same area.
And that's why you need your Second Amendment. Notice, two armed thugs enter her store. She pulls out her firearm, and then they run away. That's why you need it. It's the equalizer. Now, let's end our segment tonight with this, talking about spending in our country. I think Drudge had something of the effect on the top link. You know, Republicans let us down. Because, yes, you see the Republicans, they're all huffing and puffing, and we're going to do this and knock the Democrats' house down, not getting caught in the left-right paradigm, but that's largely what it is. So let's take a look at the spending bill and see what you're going to have to look forward to in the very near future. We'll start at the tip top with abortion. The bill once again bans using federal funding to perform most abortions. That's good news to me. The Affordable Care Act. The law is still funded, but there's no new money for it. There's also no new ACA-related funding for the two agencies most responsible for implementing the law. So you have many Republicans saying that we're going to come out here and we're not going to let this Obamacare and all this stuff slow us down. Yeah, that's not really what happened when it came down to the brass tacks. Let's scroll down a little bit. Look at Ebola. Roughly $5.4 billion is provided across several agencies to combat the spread of the disease in the United States and around the world. Jump down to Guantanamo Bay. Once again, the Obama administration is banned from transferring terrorism detainees to the United States from the U.S. military facility in Cuba. And it was my understanding that the Obama administration was going to shut down Guantanamo Bay. And we're how many years later, Guantanamo Bay is still up and jumping like a club. But, yeah, it's still open for business. And I believe Obama said he's going to shut it down before he was actually elected president. Let's look at immigration. There's $948 million for the Department of Health and Human Services Unaccompanied Children Program, a $80 million increase. Good job, Republicans. The department also gets $14 million to help school districts absorbing new immigrant students. And as I always say, I have no issue with people who want to come here through the legal, lawful way. They get naturalized, whatever else. But when you have mass amounts of people going to a town, into a community, such as McAllen, Texas, that we reported on earlier this year, and it's draining the local funding. It's, you know, overtime, all these other things. And then they say that in the event of some type of emergency, a hurricane, whatever, flood, they're going to evacuate the illegals first, the illegal immigrants. Then you say, well, these guys are staying in temporary housing like shelters and tents and so forth. True. But what about people who have low-income housing, people who live in trailer parks, or the homeless guy who lives on the park bench? Who's going to go save that guy? I care just as much about that guy as I do about somebody who came from Guatemala. Let's talk about the IRS. One of the GOP's favorite targets will see its budget slashed by $345 million. And I don't know why they put the GOP's favorite target. I don't think anybody really enjoys paying their taxes, but I guess they just did that to try to make some type of point. Israel. There's $3.1 billion in total aid for the country. Defense aid totals $619 million. Let's move now to marijuana. The District of Columbia will be prohibited from legalizing marijuana for much of the coming year. So, Marcos, our InfoWars Nightly News director, what do you think about this marijuana measure?
I just wanted to say that these guys, your elected representatives, are now deciding that the vote that the people push through at a 2-to-1 margin isn't what is good for them, so they're just going to not let them have it. Even though the people spoke out and said they want it, they're not going to let them have it.
Well, Marcos, they don't exactly work for us. They work for the big banks. They work for interest and special support groups. And we'll end tonight with this. There's several things in this 16-page list. You can go see the full thing for yourself. We'll go all the way down to whistleblowers. The bill includes language ensuring that government contractors are not barred from reporting allegations of waste, fraud, or abuse if they sign a confidentiality agreement.
Jakari, there's one in this article that I'd like to talk about here real quick.
Okay.
The Yucca Mountain facility actually has a lot to do with, guess who's making it not happen? Why, it's Senator Harry M. Reid.
Oh, Harry Reid, yeah.
Oh, Harry Reid doesn't want nuclear waste in Nevada because that would make the site of Nevada useless.
Oh, Harry
Can't
Reid.
sell that land if it's got nuclear waste on it, right?
Yeah, because we all know Harry Reid and his various dealings with foreign entities, to put it mildly. And people say, well, those deals didn't go through. That didn't stop him from trying. So, yes, that's very interesting, Joe. Thank you for bringing that up.
I really want you to read. I want you to read what it says there.
There's no new money for the site, but current money, it must be spent in pursuant to a recent court decision. Republicans say that the bill continues to leave open the possibility that the site could be used someday to store nuclear waste, but that won't happen as long as Senate Majority Leader Harry M. Reid is around. So, yes, very much interesting indeed, because, of course, Harry Reid involved with the BLM and the whole Bundy Ranch situation, and they said the Bundys are a scourge to society. They're welfare queens because they have their cattle grazing on land, and they say the cattle is detrimental to the tortoise population. But it's my understanding that the BLM is being a little detrimental to the wildlife population because they're out there killing the cattle, slaughtering them, and they don't even, kill them and cook them or sell them or anything. They just throw them in a ditch. And then the tortoises, my understanding, were actually eating the cow droppings. So they were helping in their own particular way. But stay tuned. Coming up after this break, we'll have a special report with Joe Biggs detailing some military actions, and I'll have an interview with Mark Katz. He's a Mexico City analyst detailing some recent kidnappings and slayings in Mexico.
Sold out for weeks due to the difficult and extensive proprietary process behind its creation, the exclusive INFOWARS Life Secret 12 formulation is now back in stock in the last limited shipment of 2014. The most bioactive form that has been created with our proprietary process. This ultra-clean vitamin B12 nutraceutical has been carefully crafted and developed over the last 2 years and is based on cellular science of how your body actively absorbs essential nutrients. Secret 12 is taken by mouth, right on the tongue, and then swallowed. No needles, no injections. Vitamin B12 deficiency is linked to scores of serious problems. And Secret 12 is a fusion of 2 organic proprietary forms of vitamin B12, bringing you a true nutraceutical quality vitamin B12. Secret 12. Secret 12 is an excellent Christmas gift and is tailor-made to boost your New Year's resolutions. Supplies of Secret 12 are very limited. Secure yours today at InfoWarsLife.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139. 2015 is almost here, and with it comes those New Year's resolutions to finally transform your body the way you want it. There's a reason over 88% of New Year's resolutions fail. Make this year different by equipping yourself with Oxy Powder, the next level in cleansing the body naturally. Using super oxygenation, Oxy Powder, available through InfoWarsLife.com, gently cleanses the body while you sleep with easy capsules. Tens of thousands of individuals have used Oxy Powder to cleanse their bodies and aid in their transformations. Even InfoWars Nightly News Director Rob Dew has been using Oxy Powder with incredible success.
Took it that first day, then I took it for 6 more days after that. 12 pounds melted off in about a week. I'd say a week, 7 days.
2015 can be different. Diet and exercise are important, but a lot of us have already tried that. Oxy Powder flushes it out. Secure your Oxy Powder at InfoWarsLife.com. That's InfoWarsLife.com or 888-253-3139.
Your riches and wisdom. So we have even right there.
What's his name?
This is an emergency transmission from FEMA Region 6 in occupied North America.
There is a war. It's happening now. It will decide the fate of humanity. The time to choose sides has come. We are the resistance. We are the InfoWar.
I'm Joe Biggs with InfoWars.com. Now, over the next few weeks, up to 2,400 U.S. Marines will be converging on L.A. via Ospreys in the sky, where they will be fast roping down to buildings to conduct combat raids. But the U.S. Marine Corps wants you to know that don't be alarmed. It's okay. We're also not going to tell you when we're going to do it or where it's going to be at. But if you see some helicopters flying through with a bunch of guys in combat gear hanging over the side, it's all peachy. You know, I think it's extremely interesting the time that they've picked for this, seeing as how there is nationwide protests going on. One of the larger areas where the protests have been conducted have been in L.A. Now, Captain Brian Block, a spokesman for the 15th Marine Expeditionary Unit, wants you to know that if you look out in the sky and you see 6 Ospreys hovering overhead and 2,400 U.S. Marines sitting there converging down on buildings, that it's okay. Don't worry about it. Everything's okay. You know, don't be alarmed. Don't think that World War III is going to happen or anything like that, because what they're doing is they're training for a deployment to go to the Middle East. That does not look like the Middle East to me. I've been there. None of this does. But what they want you to do is to get to a point in your life where you feel comfortable and you go, just walking down the road and, oh, look at this, it's a helicopter, yay! Oh, look at this, more helicopters and Marines coming out. Woo, yay, this is so fun. Hey, let's all hang out and take pictures with these guys. This is so cool and trendy. Hey, let's do a selfie. Yay, negative. Roger, that's not cool. They're trying to condition you so you think that this is fun and neat and trendy. Just like when we were in Ferguson, the second week, what was there? Not a lot of locals, I'll tell you that. A lot of 15, 16, 17-year-old white girls sitting there with beanies on their head, taking pictures, laughing with lollipops in their mouth, thinking, hey, this is a good old fun time. Well, these people have already been conditioned, but guess what? You're not going to condition me, because I know what the hell's going on right here. This is not normal. This is not something that we need here in America, and they want you to get used to it. This is not what Iraq or Afghanistan looks like. There aren't tall buildings. There aren't skyscrapers out there. And yet these places are popping up all over the country. They want you to get used to this stuff. And get ready, if you guys don't wake up, it will happen. So continue watching our reports. Once again, I'm Joe Biggs with INFOWARS.com.
The average person's life is filled with unexpected challenges. Unlock the energy it takes to defeat these daily beasts with super male or super female vitality, specifically designed to assist the body in regulating proper hormone balance to create superior vitality in males and females. Supercharge and conquer your world at InfoWarsLife.com or call 1-888-253-3139.
In the past decade, we have witnessed unparalleled scientific discoveries in the area of health. But no one has put together a formula that focuses directly on brain health, nerve growth factors, and optimizing your cellular energy at the same time. DNA Force is one of the most expensive formulas to produce. Some of the ingredients in DNA Force are $12,000 a kilogram. We are using the coveted, patented, only American source of PQQ, CoQ10, and more. You want the best that's out there at the lowest price anywhere? Well, we're bringing you a total win-win. The ultimate value, cutting-edge, trailblazing game changer that also supports the InfoWar. We have produced a limited run of DNA Force, and it will take up to 12 weeks to produce more once we sell out. Secure your DNA Force today at InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. DNA Force from InfoWars Life.
And welcome back. Our guest tonight is Mark Katz. You guys may recall he joined us a few weeks ago to talk about student kidnappings and subsequent deaths following a demonstration outside of a mayoral event. And he told us at the time that these type of things happen all too often, but it's just recently that they garnered international media attention. So we're going to ask him if he thinks the new revelation about these things to the masses is going to spur any type of real social or political change. And welcome back to the show, Mark.
Thank you, Jakari. Great to be here.
All right, so from the last time you were here, you had a chance to speak with Leanne, talking about the students, the mayor, and all the conflict there. Have there been any new developments since you last spoke with us?
Yes, in fact, there's been a lot of developments. What has happened in the interim is that the government has basically woken up and taken control of the narrative, starting back on November 18th when the president, Enrique Peña Nieto, made a speech basically saying that there were forces in the country out to destabilize the country through these protests. And lo and behold, a few days later, on November 20th, there was a massive protest march, and 11 people were arrested during that protest march and charged with things like terrorism and insurrection. In fact, these people were just innocent bystanders, and they were scooped up after the march was, or as the march was winding down. In fact, one of them was a Chilean PhD student who I actually met and was part of a group of friends of mine, and his experience basically says it all about what was happening there. And in the classic problem, reaction, solution, the government, after the president had a phone call with Obama, the next day he announced a 10-point security plan, which basically ramps up the police state and centralizes power in the hands of the federal government. Now, this plan hasn't been approved yet, but it's on a fast track. And two of the salient points are the disappearance of 1,800 municipal police forces to create 32 state police forces. They call this the Mando Único. And then another provision, which is very controversial, would be the federal government's ability to dissolve municipal governments upon suspected infiltration by the narcos. It's a very nebulous and very ill-defined proposal. So we'll see what develops, but definitely a ramping up of the police state in the classic, never let a good crisis go to waste.
Exactly, Rahm Emanuel. Now, you mentioned President Obama there, and I'm sure you know just as I do, under the Obama administration, we had Operation Fast and Furious that fed guns into Mexico, into the hands of these cartel members. So do you really expect anything positive to happen from this new ramping up that they plan to do down in Mexico?
No, in fact, nobody really does. These plans are actually part, Fast and Furious, etc. These are all part of the sort of NAFTA security state mentality that came about post 9/11, where the U.S. government basically views the NAFTA region as its security, as the security area that it needs to secure. So a lot of these developments in Mexico have to do with the militarization of the police, the institution of homeland security type operations here in Mexico to fulfill these obligations, as was the Plan Merida or Plan Mexico, which was the ramping up of the drug war during the last administration. The direct results are what we're seeing today with this case of the 43 missing students.
Exactly, and we're talking about several missing people. You alluded to this last time when you had a chance to speak to Leanne, and now I have the article in front of me. This stunning map shows tens of thousands of people have disappeared in Mexico since 2007. And in this article, they point out a graph done by The Telegraph, and they say that 22,000 people have seemingly disappeared since 2007. Why are those numbers so high, and why do they continue to climb to an even higher level each year?
Well, these numbers are perhaps low, unfortunately.
Wow, you think that's a low estimate?
It could be, there are different statistics from different places, but actually those are just the disappeared, not the people who have been actually killed, which is a much higher number. And as I mentioned to Leanne the last time, this incident, in Ayotzinapa with the 43 missing students is unfortunately nothing new. And that map shows how that is so. There's been so many cases of disappeared people. For example, there was a report by French television that in July of this year, another 31 students were disappeared from right next door to Iguala in a place called Cocutla, where the supposed garbage dump is, where the students were burned. Now, this report has been disputed, but it's just representative of what goes on here, unfortunately, on a almost daily basis.
Right. And Mark, our time is short, so I'll ask you this final question. What has been the response of the people in Mexico? Because we've seen recently here in the States, responses to the things that happened with Mike Brown, with Eric Gardner. Do you think the situation that happened in Mexico, has that gotten any more than usual media or just general population attention?
Oh, of course. This is part of a social protest movement that has been going on for a long time. Now, as you know, this isn't, unfortunately, an incident that's unfamiliar to people, but it got a lot of international attention. And now there's actually been some hookup between the Ferguson situation and the Ayotzinapa situation. There's been some contact between activists. So really, this incident has galvanized the people. Now, as to whether this will produce any positive change, I highly doubt that, unfortunately. The government now seems firmly in control of the narrative. They really want to put this case to rest. They're managing things to do that. So I don't think that we're going to see any type of Mexican Spring here, as has been suggested in different media sources.
All right, Mark Katz, I definitely appreciate your time. Tell our viewers how they can keep up with your work.
They can go to my news site. It's called chingoin.com. It's actually a cryptocurrency project that I'm working on for Mexico, so they can go there and they can see what I'm up to here.
All right, thank you for your time, Mark.
Thank you, Jakari.
And that's it for our show, but be sure to stop by prisonplanet.tv and get yourself a 15-day free trial. Now, for a limited time, you can get a full-year membership for $29.95. It's our holiday special. It gives you groundbreaking, hard-hitting content. I'm Jakari Jackson from the INFOWARS Command Center, and we'll see you again tomorrow night.
I began to get into iodine a few years ago because it was helping me and my family so much get healthy and detoxify. I believe our research is conclusive. This is the best iodine out there. And I know this for a fact. Nobody else has got iodine based on these pure crystals, ladies and gentlemen. For a limited time, experience the ancient power of Survival Shield X2. Take advantage of this unprecedented 30% off Super Detox Special at InfoWarsLive.com.
You are watching the InfoWars Nightly News, which airs 7 p.m. Central at InfoWarsNews.com. Members can share their passcode with up to 11 other people, and your support is helping us defend liberty worldwide.